You are listening to the Joyce Ulrich Show from Toronto, Canada, Arts and Entertainment Edition.
The Toronto Symphony Orchestra is thrilled you're attending today's concert and hope you enjoy the program. When we play something, hear something.
The TSO TTC March, and it was written by my guest today. His name is Jim Wallenberg, otherwise known as James Wallenberg, and he is with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. He's a violinist, and he began violin at 9 years of age, studying with his mom. He received his Bachelor of Music in Music Education in 1974 from Ithaca College, and his Master's of Music in Violin Performance from the Yale Graduate School of Music in 1976, studying with Broadus, Erle, and Syoko. In 1978, he joined the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. Keeping active in chamber music, James has performed on various concert series, including the Toronto Symphony Orchestra's Evening Overtures, the Associates of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra's 5 small concerts, the Toronto Music Gallery, and Music Around Us. James has made a CD, Americas, with guitarist Lynn Harding-Ware, and it's available through James and on the following websites, which would be on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. James is occasionally in the recording studios for movies, TV, and commercials, and you can see James play his violin in the movies Camilla, Martin and Lewis, the Judy Garland Story, and he has appeared, yes, he has, in cow tights in the TV commercial Drink, Milk, and Love Life. You may have remembered that. And rounding out his musical profile, James teaches violin privately. But outside of music, and this is one of the reasons I've got him here today, outside of the fact that he's an amazing violinist, James can be seen occasionally either at the Toronto Scrabble Club, well, not the Scrabble Club, I'm not thinking about that, or playing tennis, but certainly on stage doing stand-up comedy with and without the violin. So he is wonderful, and he has twin children, Joshua and Karina, who've taken up a lot of his time. And this is a family show because this is Hanukkah coming up. And so wonderful to have you on the program today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having me on your show, Joyce.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, James. And Jeepers, we met via Marina Pinto Miller, who is also, she's a wonderful artist, and you own quite a few of her pieces of work, I understand.
I do. I do. When I met and discovered what Marina did,
Yeah.
I decided to commission her to do about 4 or 5 smallish paintings, and they adorned my living room wall for many, many, many years.
Yeah, well, yeah, because she is she has synesthesia and she paints music.
Right, right. So I suggested to her about 4 or 5 kind of favorite types of pieces: some Mozart, some Mahler, some Bach, some Beethoven, and she listened to those pieces, and what came to her mind in terms of painting came out in her paintings,
Uh,
and it was great.
she's amazing, and you're amazing. I love that
Thank
TSO TTC March. So what brought what I think you composed that when 2023 on a sabbatical or something.
well, no, my sabbatical was recent. My sabbatical was actually March 4th to the end of the season of this year. But I had been starting to formulate the piece earlier than that. I'd been listening to that intro because when I take the subway before an announcement, they play that thing, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool to make a piece out of that. And
Hmm.
so I'd been formulating it in my brain for quite a long time, and then finally I decided to use the time that I had on my sabbatical to actually put to pen to paper with a friend, orchestrator, professional orchestrator friend that helped me a
Hmm.
little bit, and I produced the piece, and I'm hoping it'll get performed.
Well, yes. Who is performing on it? Was that that's the TSO?
No,
No. What is that?
that
Who's
is
that?
that's computer generated. That is a
Oh,
synthesizer.
oh boy,
It,
my ear.
it sounds pretty good though.
It
It's
sounds darn good.
technology today is great, and the orchestrator is her name is Rebecca Pellet, and she's a professional uh, orchestrator, and she's done things for orchestras all over Canada, and she inputted what I wrote to her into her program,
Yeah.
uh, and that's what came out, and so it's very lifelike, very orchestra like.
Well, there's some great Pro Tools out there now, and lots of great sounds. I've used it myself when I've for my music, and it's fabulous. Well, my producer uses it. I don't. I just give him. I just send him an MP3 of me singing, and then he builds around me. But yeah, that's beautiful. So you've been with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and for since 1978, and
Correct.
you've traveled the world, of course, and played so many different things, the most beautiful music. But when you're in the audience, when you're on stage, how do you perceive that experience? Like, how does that feel to sit in an orchestra with all the? It's such. Talk about it's an amazing ensemble activity. It's so beautiful. I love symphony music, but to get like how does it feel to be on stage in the middle of
Well,
all that?
it feels fantastic. I mean, first of all, I sometimes like to think of an orchestra as a big fraternity or a big club, fraternity slash sorority,
Hmm.
or just a club of professional musicians, all great musicians coming together. Walking on stage to the applause is great, and then playing this beautiful music. We're all extremely technically proficient, and we come out with uh, the interpretation by the conductor of the week. And then when the piece is finished and the applause by the audience is so gratifying, and we stand and turn to the audience and smile, and it's a wonderful experience. And I've done it for since 1978. This is my 46th season in the orchestra, and it never gets tiring, and it never gets old. It's always a wonderful experience every week. You don't know what's going to come in entirely. Well, you do know what's coming, but every week is slightly different because each conductor is different, each soloist is different,
Yes.
and we're making the music on the spot, even though we've rehearsed it over the week.
Uh-huh.
Final product is the performance.
Well, it's so organic. You're there. It's
Yeah,
not. It's never going to sound the same ever.
right, right. And if you heard the same piece conducted by different conductors in a row, you would hear subtle differences.
Mhm.
That's the thing that makes it so interesting. The conductor is the interpreter of the music between the audience and the orchestra. So it's always, there are pieces that we're performing year in year out that I've played so many times, but each conductor has its own interpretation stamp or whatever you call it, and so that's what makes it even more interesting to perform.
Not to put you on the spot, do you have a favorite conductor?
I I I
Like people you
yeah.
enjoy, really, really like they're up there. They've got the baton raised, and you're going like, wow, this is going to be a great ride.
Well, our present music director Gustavo Camino is wonderful, and as many of the conductors I've performed under, the main music directors were Andrew Davis,
Yes.
then Gunther Herbig, Pekka Sariste, Peter Ungen, and now Gustavo Jimeno. So each of them brought wonderful things to the podium and to the orchestra. Each of them. There are young ones coming up and coming young ones that I'm particularly looking forward to. His name is Tarmo Peltokowski,
Hmm.
and he. I don't even know if he's 30 yet.
Wow.
And he's just phenomenal. So there are young ones, and then the more established conductors that come back year in and year out. We miss Andrew Davis dearly,
Oh yeah.
and every conductor that we have is fantastic. You know,
Yeah, no, no. Ultimately, like you said, they have their own signature on that. They sign that
do.
off every time they conduct it.
They do.
Beautiful. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so that's wonderful for the audience too. And you performed. Your home base is Roy Thompson Hall.
correct.
Yeah, that's a how do you like that concert hall? Did you ever play I guess before Roy Thompson was the
Massey,
so,
Massey Hall.
Massey Hall,
Yes, I
right?
when I joined the orchestra in 1978, there was no Roy Thompson Hall.
No, I know.
So I played 4 years in Massey Hall, which was very nice too. I mean, it's a different type of hall than Roy Thompson.
Hmm.
It's the old lady of Tudor Street, they called it.
It is.
It was built in 1894, if I'm not mistaken, or sometime opened then maybe.
They've done a nice renovation of it, I have to say. They've
They have.
they've they've discovered the stained glass windows, which was really remarkable.
Yeah, yes, and the history of it is incredible. I mean, you think
Hmm.
about going back of all the major artists, not only classical but pop artists, Gordon Lightfoot, and all these
Mm.
wonderful Canadian artists, and then international artists coming and playing and conducting. Seiji Ozawa, when he conducted the Toronto Symphony back in the 1965. Um, and it's got a lot of history. Uh, there is a warmth to the sound, and
Yes.
just being in the venue evokes the days of old, and is marvelous. Roy Thompson Hall is a completely different building altogether.
Hmm.
Uh, in 1982, it opened and underwent some renovations itself. They improved the sound a number of ways, adding wood, taking out some seats,
Yeah.
uh, and a huge canopy overhead the orchestra, which helps the sound as well.
Well, that's interesting because the bones of the building are like how each instrument, you look at an instrument, you know how that instrument's going to sound. And
Right,
you talk about wood. I, to be honest, the old O'Keefe Center, which became the Hummingbird Center.
right.
Um, I used to go there for the COC and listen to opera and that. But I thought, why is there wood? I never could understand the wood paneling. I thought, doesn't that like absorb the sound rather than,
No,
you know,
uh,
like,
no, exactly the opposite. That's why string instruments are made of wood.
well, there you go. I don't play I only play the radio.
Well, no, no. Wood is a wonderful medium for buildings, and many concert halls are wood based. Four Seasons now has a ton of wood in there, and so yeah, you definitely need the wood. we could use maybe even some more wood in Roy Thompson Hall, but it's enhanced sound. Yes.
That's interesting. Well, of course, and the aging of the wood, you play violin, so I have to ask you about your violin, where it's from, how old it is, because that's an important
It is an important
thing.
thing. Each of us in the orchestra have our own instruments. Mine, I have actually four instruments. The first two that I got were made by a contemporary 20th century maker named Ansaldo Poggi, Poggi, Ansaldo Poggi from Bologna.
I was going to say Italian, yeah.
Yeah, the Italians made great instruments. Of course, Antonio Stradivarius, Guarneri.
Of course.
They're extremely valuable. And I also have a Eugenio Degani instrument that was made in 1896,
Mm,
and then the instrument that I play the most was my mother's. She was a violinist,
yes.
and
And your dad was a composer, was he not?
no, my
No.
dad was not a composer. He was well, by day he was a mechanical engineer, and by night he was a conductor, a pianist, and a cellist.
Ah,
I would say in the order cellist, then conductor, and then pianist. I mean, he played the
wow.
piano very well, but he didn't concertize in pianist so much. He concertized on the cello.
Mm-hmm.
He did in a trio with my mother and a quartet with my mother in upstate New York, in Binghamton, New York, where I'm from.
Mm,
And then he founded an orchestra in the 50s. It was a community orchestra, and then it eventually became the Binghamton Symphony, which is sort of semi-professional, and it's professional now. And
wow.
so I was born and raised in a musical family. My mother was my violin teacher for 9 long years, and so eventually she bequeathed her instrument to me. It has a label. Many violinists have a label inside it
Yeah.
documenting who the maker was, and the label on her instrument is Petrus Guarnerius, but it's been determined over the decades that it's not really a Petrus Guarnerius, and we're not sure exactly what it is, but it's a wonderful instrument, and so I have a little bit of my mother underneath my chin there,
Oh,
and
that's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the warmth of the wood, I guess as the wood ages, does that change the sound of the violin?
It does. It does. It's a combination of the wood, the age of the wood, um, how much the instrument's played, the varnish. There are a number of factors that go into making. I mean, there are wonderful, wonderful instruments made today
Hmm.
that sound quite good. There are makers. There are 21st century makers making wonderful instruments, and I mean, of course, the wood isn't aged the same way the wood is on my Degani from
Hmm.
1896, but they know how to tweak the sound. The finish is helpful, and there are instruments that sound wonderful made today just as well as some instruments from hundreds of years ago.
That's fabulous. So let's go on to another aspect of your career there. When I met you, you know, excuse me. I guess I'm going to. This is like preempting. I'm doing a little bit of coughing, like your audience does.
That's good. That's good.
Eh,
It makes me feel at home.
yeah.
Although I have to say, over lately the audiences have been better with the sound. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the week or the time of year, but I've noticed over the time being that the coughing has subsided more than in past decades.
Yeah. What's with that? It's really weird. Okay, you're sitting in the audience and one person coughs. You don't feel like coughing at all. You don't want to cough, but all of a sudden you have this, you want to cough. You have an inclination. And then someone else coughs. You know what I mean? It's like a domino.
Yeah, it could be psychosomatic. It could be who knows what the real reason is. Same with yawning. You yawn and somebody else yawns.
Yeah. And the unwrapping of candies. Or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I talk about that in my stand-up routine.
That's what and I'm
Meeting.
I'm going to play that because right now, because here you were in this particular recording we're going to listen to. You were in New York. You're playing Carnegie Hall, of course, because you're the TSO, And how the heck did you end up at a comedy club? You're in New York. You're playing Carnegie Hall, which is the biggest gig, like there you go. But you toddle off to a comedy club. What happened there?
Well, at the time, we weren't playing in Carnegie Hall.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were. I thought that was
No,
one of those.
no, no,
Okay,
no.
I
No,
I
just used
digress.
Carnegie. I just used Carnegie Hall as a concert hall that we play in.
Okay.
But I was sent a link by somebody or at the time it was maybe not a link, but yeah, it could have been a link, and he said this may be something you're interested in. So I clicked on it, and it was
Yeah.
the invitation to audition for send in a 4 or 5 minute audition tape of stand up comedy. It's a competition for musicians, for classical musicians who do stand up comedy, right up
Well,
my alley. And I
who'd have
thought,
thought
well,
there was a category for that? I mean, really.
yeah, and it was an international competition sponsored by WQXR radio station in New York and Caroline's Comedy Club in New York, one of the top venues of stand-up comedy in New York. And
Mhm.
I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to ever be selected if it's international. And then I had to send something in. Now, at the time, all I had was my routines on VHS tape.
Oh,
So I had to take those tapes to a building, a place that converts
yes.
and makes digital recordings.
Right.
So I selected material from that and created that, sent it in, not expecting anything. 2 weeks later, I get a call. We've selected you to be part of the competition. So the rest, as they say, is history. I went down there. I flew down and did. I was one of 10, and
Yeah. Wow.
the panel was made up of esteemed people, including the comic of the '70s, Robert Klein, uh,
Mm.
the fellow Peter Schickele, who invented the famous PDQ Bach,
Oh.
um, uh, Deborah Voigt,
Mm-hmm.
opera singer of the Met from the Met, and then the fourth person on the panel is, I think, booking agent. So that was exciting, and
That was very.
I
That's very cool.
I did it was I did my thing and thought I would win. I made everyone laugh. People came up to me afterwards and said you were really funny and you should have won. I didn't win. Somebody else won, and um, but it was a great experience. It
Well,
was
I find this a very funny clip, and I have to say to my listeners, because I do theater of the mind here, so there's no video. I digitized this. I took an MP3 from the video that you sent me. So I'm just going to just say there is a point in this. I'm going to let the listeners know that you have actually there's a couple of visual comedy things, and I'll tell them right away. when you put tape on your ears.
right.
And then you said you were
An idiot listening to tapes.
there. You go. And I know the crumpling of paper doesn't come through as well on the digital, but it's the whole thing we were talking about where people are unwrapping chocolate bars or candies or some kind of thing when they're listening to the music. So it's that kind of thing. So I'm going to play this the stand up routine that you did back in 2011, I think.
It was
Are you
long
still are you still doing it?
I'm not. I maybe someday I'll get back into it, but after my kids were born in 2008,
Yeah.
it kind of tapered off, and then I got really busy.
Well, you had twins.
Yes, and I was starting to develop material based on that, and but I didn't really. I certainly have done a competition like that since then. I'd love to do another one,
Oh yeah. Oh no,
but
you got it. You got it. Because I'm sure you've got a lot of anecdotes from the TSO that you could tell, and I'm going to ask you in a minute. But let's listen to this clip first. How's that?
okay.
Okay, we're going to listen to this clip from Caroline's Comedy Club in New York. Very funny.
Literally, in rehearsal with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra this morning. He's a sitting violinist with the Toronto Symphony. Had rehearsal, got on a plane, and came here, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Wallenberg.
Early on in my musical upbringing, I discovered that I had perfect pitch, the ability to identify notes. My friends would test me. Hey Jim, what's this note? Okay, that's an A. How about this one? Okay, that's a B flat. But then people would come up to me and go, hey Jim, what's this note? Louis here thinks it's a C sharp. What do you think? I've been playing in the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, but wherever we perform, whether it's Toronto or Carnegie Hall here in New York, our audiences can get pretty noisy. Just once I'd love it for the orchestra to go on the offensive, give them a taste of their own medicine. We'd be playing a slow and beautiful melody. Oh, it's a 7:30. Sorry, this isn't good. I also play weddings. Once I played a half Jewish, half Catholic wedding. So for them I played Oy vey Maria. Oy. I'd like to close with some musical impersonations. Here's the first one. An idiot listening to tapes. The West Nile virus. A comedy club audience. The guys. The women. This is a European ambulance driving by. And finally, thank you. And finally, a mouse getting caught in a trap. You guys have been a great audience. I'm Jim Wallenberg.
And that's Jim Wallenberg, all right, comedian and TSO violinist. My gosh, Jim, that I find that very funny. I enjoyed that so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a blast doing that.
Oh yeah, it's great. And I want to, you've taken time out of your busy schedule right now because it's a holiday season. It's not exactly a slow season for you guys, and you're in rehearsal for the Messiah right now. And of course,
Right.
the two big ticket items during this holiday season, the Nutcracker and the Messiah, right?
Yeah, we don't play the Nutcracker. That's the
No, I know, but those are the two things that
Yeah.
people attend like big time, or if there's a pantomime, that kind of thing. Those are the three biggies, but especially the Messiah and the Nutcracker. Yeah, no, I know you don't, but yeah, the Messiah. How beautiful is that? And Handel, actually, his dad was Jewish.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. And yeah, and I know with my own family background, I'm matrilineally I'm Jewish from the Dutch, but my Dutch Jewish family professed Protestantism, which was very, very, very common back then. But for Handel to score the Messiah, it's quite, so many. I'm just saying, Jews wrote the greatest Christmas carols, all of that kind of thing.
That's right.
There's a hand in there always, there's a hand,
There is. We're everywhere.
Yes, and don't forget that. That's it. Never forget that. No, but how do you feel when you play the Messiah?
Well, first of all, I've been playing that piece pretty much every year since I joined the orchestra.
Well, no kidding. Yeah.
And we average maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 performances each year. This year it's 5. And as I said before, when we get different conductors doing it, each conductor has his or her own interpretation on the piece. So, it's always, even though it's repetitive, it's the same piece every year. It's different because each conductor produces his or her own interpretation, slight changes. This year we have Jean-Sébastien Vallet conducting, and we had our first rehearsal last night, and we have 2 today, and then we start the performances. And it's a wonderful piece. You never get tired of that piece. And there's the arias are just so glorious. The choruses are incredible. Of course, there's the famous Hallelujah chorus.
Of course.
And despite the fact that we do it every year, it never gets old, and we do fill the hall because it's so popular.
Well, yeah, it's a big ticket item. It's good. It's good, and it is a gorgeous piece. Absolutely. Yes. So I don't want to keep you too long because after all, you do have somewhere to go. But I do want to play. We talked about the twins. And you come from a musical family, but you know what? You got a musical family yourself. Your wife Jackie has a lovely voice.
My wife has a lovely voice. When
Well, your music that you sent me. We have a meltdown.
Oh, we have a meltdown. Right. She did sing in that one, didn't she? I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was a piece I wrote. At some point after the kids were born, and they were crying. I think I conceived that in a hotel room.
Oh, were you missing the kids?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
We were traveling with the kids.
Oh.
We were with the kids.
Oh.
And they were just crying in the middle of the night. So I said, Jacqueline, I think we have a meltdown here. And then the song just came to my head, and I wrote it out, and then we recorded it because I wanted to record it, not only just the audio but the video as well. And we were holding the kids, and what was so amazing is there at one point where I say, and they're smiling, and at that same exact point, one of the kids, I think it might have been Joshua, was smiling. Like we didn't prompt him or anything. We just said the word, and he started smiling. So it was incredible how that coincided.
Oh yeah, and the video is great, and it is on your web. You have a YouTube channel with a few videos on it, and you just go to James Wallenberg, right? It's under James Wallenberg. Let me just see here. Where's your website here? Yeah, it's James Wallenberg. Just go there, and you can get you can listen. You can see the video because it's sweet. It's absolutely sweet because you're holding the twins, and so it's a family affair. So it's beautiful. So
right.
let's play "We Have a Meltdown" because I really like that, and a lot of parents around this time of year are having a lot of meltdowns with their kids because they're home with them now. Because they're going to be coming out. They'll be home from school and there's a lot of stuff going on at the house. So here we are with "We Have a Meltdown." And your name, your wife's name, Jackie?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
Well, Yeah, but she can go by Jackie.
No, I was just trying to remember because I was thinking, was it Jackie or Jacqueline? It's like, are you Jim or
Well,
James?
it's nicknameable as is mine.
Yeah. I thought you guys were just precious. So here we go. We have and the babies. Ooh, anyway, we have a meltdown.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Jacqueline.
And this is Joshua. And this is his twin sister, Karina. When they were 3 months old, they visited Grandma. And about 3 in the morning, they both started crying. So I said to Jacqueline, honey, I think we have a meltdown. And thus a song was born. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown with the twins. With all their crying and diaper changing, at times we feel we just can't win. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown with the twins. With all their fussing and eyes are gushing, at times we feel we just can't win. With a wah-wah here and a wah-wah there. Feed me, change me, now! With a wah-wah here and a wah-wah there. Sometimes I feel we're gonna have a cow. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown. We have a meltdown with the twins. Sleep deprivation.
I need vacation.
At times we feel we just can't win. We have a meltdown.
We have a meltdown.
We have a meltdown with the twins. With all their screaming, but is there meaning? At times we feel we just can't win. With a wah-wah here and a wah-wah there. Feed me, change me, now! With a wah-wah here and a wah-wah there. Sometimes I feel we're gonna have a cow. We had a meltdown. We had a meltdown. We had a meltdown with the twins. But now they're smiling. They're so beguiling. At times we feel that we can win. We had a meltdown. We had a meltdown. We had a meltdown with the twins. 'Cause now they're cooing. No more boo-hooing. At times we feel that we can win. With a hoo-hoo here and a ha-ha there. Hold me, love me, now! With a mama here and a da-da-da-da there. We love our twins and how. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Such nice sonority there. Lovely harmony, Jim.
That was fun. Yeah, that brings back memories.
Oh, it's so nice to have that, though. The kids must love watching that. There they
I don't
are.
know when they've seen it last. I should show it to them.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's been a while. They're 16 and a half now. They were 3 months old then,
Are they-
visiting Grandma in
Yeah.
Binghamton.
are they past the embarrassment age of 13?
I guess so. Yeah, at some point. But that kind of stays with kids for quite a while. But yeah, I think they are.
Do your children play instruments? I have to ask.
Well, they played piano. I got them. I tried violin with Joshua, and that didn't really hold. But they both played piano up to grade 9,
Mhm.
the conservatory method, and then they stopped. And Karina also played flute, but that didn't stay. And because my wife plays flute
Oh,
as well, she plays in the Richmond Hill Philharmonic.
oh, nice.
Yeah, and she could have been a very fine flutist. She went to the University of Rochester, but she also studied at Eastman
Ah,
School of Music in Rochester. So, but she didn't go the performance route. And now my son Joshua does play. We got him interested in trumpet.
oh,
So he plays in the Hannaford Community Band, which meets every Saturday morning, and they do 3 or 4 concerts a year, and so that keeps him, a little musically inclined. But my daughter doesn't play an instrument, but her two major activities are competitive figure skating
uh-huh.
and musical theater. So
Oh,
she does sing.
she does. She's got a beautiful voice too, my dear. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and takes vocal lessons and loves to act and sing. So she's part of a company called Bravo Academy. This is extracurricular outside of school, but she also goes to Claude Watson, and they have it and is a drama major there.
Oh yes, I know that school very well because my ex-husband, was a drama teacher, and Weldon Ridalls was the drama. Well, he was the head of drama there for years. But my ex-husband started Arts Huron up in Newmarket, which is like Claude Watson. So fantastic for her to be there. Wonderful.
Yes.
That's an excellent school. Earl Haig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earl
So,
Haig, Claude Watson.
yeah, exactly. That's Claude Watson is a school, the theater school, very established. Weldon Ridall started it. He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of the family. But you know what? Since you talked about your daughter a little bit, just a quick one. Because it's Hanukkah, and then we're going to go to the sonata that you wrote for your mom. But first, I want to just quickly play the Hanukkah's blessing that you recorded many years ago. How long ago was that? Do you know?
The Hanukkah thing, they were young. So
Yeah.
This could have been 8, 9 years ago at least. You know what? I'm not.
That's okay. No, she was
Young.
yeah, she was a younger, but I was so wowed by her singing.
Oh,
And it's beautiful. Yeah, because you can hear it. You can hear it there. And musical theater and getting to that's fantastic. So you all have good voices, and you're coming. Yeah, she's got good genes. Here you go. I just want to play this Hanukkah with the Wallenbergs. Just a very short. This is the blessing over the candles at Hanukkah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kibshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahavneh Shem
I would expect nothing less from the Wallenberg family, but beautiful sonority. That was really gorgeous.
that was fun.
Now you got to get going soon, but before you go, because I want to set this whole thing, the sonata up that you wrote for your mom at various birthdays of her life, and it's a beautiful 17-minute piece. So I want to end the program with that after I say farewell and have a great performance and a great rehearsal and all of that kind of thing. But to set this sonata for violin and piano that you wrote in 1973 and 1983.
Yeah, well, it like I said, like you were saying, it was written in stages because I conceived the first movement when she in 1973, when she was 60. Or was that 70? When she was born in 13. Yeah.
I think you mentioned 60. I saw on the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 10 years later, I came up with the second movement for her 70th birthday. And then 10 years later, I came up with the final movement for her 80th birthday.
Wow.
So it was a long time in finishing. First it started as movement for violin and piano, and then when I came up with the second, third movement, it became sonata for violin and piano, a 3-movement sonata. And I loved writing that piece, and I performed it on one of the 5 smallest concerts with the late pianist Peter Longworth.
Yes.
And I was really glad that I was able to find a venue and be able to perform the piece, because when you write a piece, you want it to be performed. That's what
absolutely.
That's why I'm hoping my orchestral piece will get performed, and all composers want their pieces performed. And
For sure.
Toronto Symphony has played numerous contemporary Canadian and non-Canadian pieces
Yes.
from living composers, and many times the composers are in the audience in rehearsal with us, so we get to see them and meet them, some of them.
Wow.
And it's a great thing. And so I'm not officially a bona fide composer, but I have composed, I have arranged music primarily for strings,
Yes.
and it's one of my many pastimes. And yeah, that sonata was a labor of love to my.
I would say so. And didn't your father Fritz, is it Wallenberg? Didn't he have
Yes.
something to do with this as well? A little hand in
Well,
it?
Yeah, well, he played in the final movement.
Uh-huh.
He played piano um, for that. I don't think he was playing the piano for the first two movements in the recording,
Mm.
but definitely in the last movement. He also had a hand in some of the arranging or recording, composing of it. He had a little bit of input in that movement.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say I'm gonna play this out of the show because it's a beautiful piece. Now it is a live piece. It's from Trinity.
Trinity St. Paul is where the Five
Yeah.
Smalls concerts used to happen. They don't
Mhm.
happen anymore, but I'm hoping maybe someday we can get them back. And they had a series that had been going for about 40 something years, sponsored by the Associates of the Toronto Symphony, a group of people who wanted to have an outlet for Toronto Symphony musicians to play chamber music.
Nice.
And so that's where that concert was.
That is a beautiful space. I've heard concerts in there before.
It really is. It really is.
And it's talk about old wood.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
got it. It's a resonating place. It's beautiful for the acoustics,
That's-
everything.
That's where Tafel music plays.
Exactly. So this. I'm going to let people know that there is a little bit of coughing in this because it wouldn't be normal to have a live performance. A little bit of coughing, a little bit of shuffling, but it gets very quiet as you start into this, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. With a lovely ending. And I want to thank you so much, Jim, for joining me here on the Joyce Aldrich Show. It's been wonderful talking with you and for taking time out of your very busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure. It's been wonderful talking to you, and I hope the listeners enjoy the podcast and on all of your podcasts. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. So this is James Wallenberg's Sonata for Violin and Piano, written for his beloved mum. So here we are. Mother, I should say. I always say mum. I'm always thinking of the Queen Mum.
Mom is nice too.
Mum. Yeah, it's just a warmth to it. It's like the wood,
Right.
Thank you so much for joining. Here we are with James Wallenberg, Sonata for Violin and Piano.
You're listening to the Joyce Ulrich Show from Toronto, Canada, Arts and Entertainment Edition.